what I'm going to read, I hope will give Daniela a sense of the strange ideas that might come into someone's head when reading the book. I think if a book can do that, then it's really succeeded. So this will be a kind of internal, silent conversation about ideas that become nothing. A series of footnotes and annotations from the moment of my first encounter with the book and the thoughts it triggered. I thought I'd embrace my identity as a publisher rather than trying to be anything else than as an editor. But my response is also personal and a development of my own thoughts about musical forms and the way they control my thought processes, because they really do. Whether I like it or not, my mind is trapped inside an ordered but claustrophobic world in which everything has to conform to a rhythmic and harmonic pattern. I absorb the world around me, the words and sounds I hear, and process them, convert them to a melody and a rhythm, compelled to find a form for everything around me. So my reading of this book is also a filtering of its ideas through the patterns of sound that control my perceptions. So first an introduction. Steve, with his characteristic generosity, instigated a correspondence. Jess, I mentioned Daniela's work today, and her new book really speaks to our conversation. Daniela, Jess is a writer and publisher who runs the wonderful Test Centre. I really think there's wonderful crossovers between your interests, really fertile ground to work together. A series of remixes, responses, rewrites. It's very open. I'm instigating this project to see the book drift and to welcome a variety of other voices into it. I see the book in its changing qualities rather than impermanence. It starts there. Next. Many thanks for your email and for your response to my book. I'm really glad to read that. My project is ultimately one on language and against certain acquired canons of language. I haven't got any restrictions about the nature of your response, and I'll be as curious to hear of any ideas generated by the book as of responses that use the book's text directly. Well, I've been thinking about compiling an annotation. As a publisher, it feels appropriate. And so in the search for an idea and a form of response, the response is formed. FMRL, ephemeral, footnotes, sound, decay and interference patterns, the transmuting of noise back into poetry. You must reconcile yourself with the ephemeral nature of sound. Invention based on error, that's what I should do. Embrace the accidents and errors of listening. Listen to the text and see how it mirrors my thoughts. Am I the leftovers of writing sound? Incoherence permitted as the most sensible approach. Sound allows us to capture the present and make it significant. I'm at the margins. That is the space given to me. Could this reading be an annotation, a literal writing in the margins? What should those annotations become? Do they need to be given a shape? Should I find a way of putting my text into a musical score? Or copy the score of a famous piece of music, but put letters in place of notes? Sound units that reiterate the same gesture. Could my text consist of or be composed of footnotes and refrains? Perhaps that's what it's telling me to do. A note like a minute that has to cross a century. Why not follow the format of a particular musical form? That will show that I know at least a bit about sound. Sonata form, to allow for plenty of repetition. Motifs and refrains and returns. Words in the shape of a Bach cello suite. Concrete poetry as musical score. 43 sound units that reiterate the same gesture. Choose a gesture and reiterate it, but I can't write the gesture and I won't perform it. Perhaps a list of sounds we imagine but which we cannot know, like the sound of an exploding asteroid, the splitting of a cell, a plant growing. Instead, maybe I'll reorder the sections of the book, treat each word as a note, form a new melody, the cut up as music, as composition. You see, I can't focus. I'm distracted by sound. The ideas are melodies which don't catch. I'll tell a story only through the memory of the sounds associated with it. Nothing happens that can't be described as sound. Or how about the story of Van Gogh's disembodied ear? What happened to it and where did it travel? What did it hear? What does an ear hear and how does it interpret sound when disconnected from thoughts? Just sounds without meaning? What would that be? Terrible idea. The next one, sounds as something haunted and contaminated by listeners. Write a story about that. A sound that is destroyed and transformed, like a person who's ruined and corrupted. The story of a sound turning bad. A sound that becomes overwhelmed by meaning. Everyone adds their story to the sound, and this explodes and destroys them all. Crime fiction, a story of revenge. Could get more personal, though I'm cautious to admit it. The story of my own obsessive habit with sound. Fitting melodies onto the piano keyboard, avoiding the black notes, insisting on 4/4 time, needing order. The total distraction and dislocation of a mind obsessed with giving musical form to the sounds around it. Trying to put sound into language, into form and order and pattern. Nothing can be allowed to pass unnoted. Everything must be notated, given a form. Is that what the listener desires? Whatever it is, it must be repetitive. But what language do you listen to music in? Is listening always transformed and processed into language? Must everything be described? I can't avoid writing sound, but I want to. I want to be free from the need to write it. A concert for a frozen lake. Nobody there, nobody to write it. Like that sculpture, the place of interchange between hearing and seeing. Still and reflective. The sound surrounds and rebounds, but is not transformed. As we listen to the sculpture, we listen to something with no sound, and sound becomes imagination. New thoughts and clusters of words are not created anew, but cast from words that were before. Writing sound is an arrangement of recurring obsessions and their cadenzas. To write sound is to extract from layers of other words, to fabulate, to circulate, to borrow or seal. What once would have been marginalia migrates from the margins to the core of something new.